All right, good to hear.
Oh.
So, hello everyone to the 0.5.8 Friday stream. We've just released a big update with our new multicellular prototype, and we also had some signaling agents packaged in that. That combined with a lot of big features makes this a pretty nice release. Starting today, we have a pretty big turnout with over 10 developers in our podcast.
Hello.
So, now is the time to go ahead and introduce everyone. So, let's start with DPH Kraken, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I've just been here for a while, and I can't really say I'm an active dev, but I'm still with you guys.
Alright, thank you, Kraken. Really appreciate that. Next up, we have Game Dungeon, who's just caught up to join us. If you
Game
don't
Dungeon.
have... Sorry?
I was about to say Game Dungeon reported a lack of mic, but if you got it, you got it.
Yes. If you cannot speak, you can still type in your introduction in our chat, if you don't mind.
Accurate.
That's fun. Yeah, that's one way to define yourself.
Yeah. Like that sometimes.
And while he's typing that, Hirolainen, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. I'm the lead programmer and person who did the multicellular prototype for this release, and I don't really know what to say most of the times. I try to keep the game progressing, making new features, accepting pull requests from other programmers and stuff like that.
Thank you, Hirolainen. And now, Chemical.
Hello, I'm Chemical, or Alex. I've been working on the patch map, and I hope to finish it next update. I've also been working on some volumetric clouds for the 3D part of the game. And that's it for now. That's what I've been focusing on.
Thank you. And now for Maxonodon.
Hello, I'm Maxonovien. I'm a programmer for Thrive. I've been working on AI in the past, and now my focus has shifted onto things related to AutoEvo. So, of course, predicting simulation. That's what I've been working on very lately. But I'm also working on compound production, so the evolution of the environment with the processes from the cell, so respiration and all the like. So that's my main avenue of work right now.
Thank you, Maxonodon. And how about you, Nagarath?
Oh, I usually make the trailers whenever we have a release, and then I usually join in on whatever discussions we're having, just because I can. Yeah, that's about what I do.
Then we have Nunes. If you're unable to... Alright, he's typing. Okay. And then we have Oliver Ritter.
Hello, I'm Oliver. I've been on the team a very long time. Initially joined to do music, gradually branched out into other things, perhaps more other things in future. But yes, hello, here I am.
And then we have Rosa.
Hello. I've been working on a lot of the very new icons for, what was it? It was the chemoreceptor and the signaling agent. I also made the models while Nuns made the textures, and Nuns also took my chemoreceptor model and amped it up to the next level. But yeah, I am a graphic artist, and I'm new, and this is my first Thrive stream, so I'm very excited. So thank you for letting me join.
Finn?
Yeah, I'm a programmer. I joined about a year ago. In recent times, I haven't done too many exciting things. I've mostly been hanging back, putting up some small PRs for odds and ends I saw going wrong with the game. But I might be changing in the future. We will see.
Alright, now Twitchy Whales.
Do we know whether Twitch Wales has a microphone?
I don't know. And while he, alright. And while he gets his microphone, Theofril, if I'm pronouncing that right at all, if you would like to introduce yourself. Thank you.
And, maybe now would be good time to let everyone know on the community Discord that this is happening.
No problem, I already did.
Oh, you already did. I don't see myself being pinged there, so well, I don't know what you wrote there. So.
Committed
I've corrected that. Don't worry.
Ah,
now I see.
didn't realize I had to ping or not. I'm sorry.
We're organized.
Why did you? We're very, very organized. We're very neat. We clean our rooms.
Right, well, now that introductions are out of the way, well, it's Wales. Did they introduce themselves? No.
I forgot.
Go ahead.
So I'm Twitchy Whales. I'm a composer and sound designer. I've been mainly doing sound effects like the ATP damage, and I'm currently working on some underwater ambience / atmosphere. And yeah.
Thank you very much. So now that we got the introductions out of the way, we can move on. That was a lot of introductions. This is probably the first time we've had this amount of developers in a podcast.
We've been going for 7 minutes already. God.
Well,
That took a
a
while.
lot of people.
So, what shall we discuss?
We could start with questions, or we could talk about our.
We usually
But I
answer
think that's
questions later in the stream.
Okay.
Let's start with the patch notes or the highlights.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Alrighty.
Then the priority questions and other questions after that.
I didn't quite have the patch notes ready.
I mean, we know what the big elements of the patch notes are. Multicellular, it's here. Kind of. It's a prototype, but yay.
Multicellular with some disclaimers.
Yeah, multicellular asterisk. There we go.
We finished it. It's done. It's a lie.
We have a window that says you're not allowed to complain, and then you clicked OK, so no complaining.
Yeah, I was thinking if I'd put a checkbox there that you have to check it that says I won't complain, but that would be extra work, so I didn't do that yet. We'll see if people complain too much, then there'll be a checkbox there in the future.
We could put that in like an April Fool's version of Thrive. That would be funny.
Important. So,
Yeah.
the big two things that you might notice as a player is, yes, the early multicellular prototype and the signaling agent. So, I suppose we can start with the signaling agent, as it should be pretty simple to describe and explain. Hiralainen was the one who worked on most of that, if I do recall correctly. Is there anything you'd like to share about that, Hiralainen?
Well, I don't really know what I should say. I'm trying to remember if anyone else actually did anything for it, but Maybe I did it all by myself. I
think
did
it was
like
done quite early, so
I did the new GUI control for like the radial menu, and well, the actual commands are pretty simple, so it was mostly just the menu work and stuff like that to hook up the commands.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's a fairly simple feature, but one that I can imagine will lead to a lot of creative innovation for players.
I've already had
Yeah.
quite some fun with it. As I mentioned to the dev team earlier, I managed to create a pincer movement where I told my cells to go away and then told them to come towards me as there were lots of prey in between us. That was very fun.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
So
Very
yeah,
clever.
signaling agents I've found very enjoyable so far.
Yeah.
They're quite fun. Like I think what I did, you can see it a little bit in the trailer, but I tried to collect as many of my guys and then get into a swarm of other organisms, then unbind and just tell them all to be aggressive.
Wow.
It's really cool that my model with Nun's texture is the model for that, because it's one of the more exciting features, and it's just like, yay, that's cool. So, yeah.
You did a good job, you and Nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, also, the chemoreceptor is no longer a piece of broken blue broccoli. And that's thanks to both me and Nun. I think I already said this, but I made the basic model, and Nuns just kind of blew it out of the park with almost like this, in cartoons where the lungs are kind of shown to be these little, well, not just cartoons, but in real life, how like lungs have these tiny little balls inside them.
Are
He
you talking about the
basically turned
alveoli?
Yeah, those. I'm not a theorist, I'm a graphic designer.
Not just in cartoons, it's in real life too, I think.
It is, yeah. I don't know why I said in cartoons, but yeah, it's in real life.
In cartoons, I usually just see lungs depicted as just sacs, but in real life,
yeah,
there's
true.
so much complexity to their structure.
Yeah, they're interesting. Oh.
We could post a picture.
Right.
Oh,
anyway, moving on.
Oh, yeah.
So that there that Nuns just posted is the new model for the chemoreceptors, or at least part of it. That's what I do believe Rose was talking about, resembling the alveoli, but yes. So the neat thing about chemoreceptors is, in Fried, it's basically based off of the olfactory cilia of your nose. Of course, that's usually not a thing in free-roaming cells, but it's a thing now.
It's
I'm
a thing
trying
that
to
makes a
find-
game much more enjoyable and
Yeah.
much easier. So it's necessary, even if it's not entirely realistic.
And in the
Yeah.
future, I am hoping that using chemoreceptors will basically be how you have the sense of smell in later stages.
Oh, yeah, that's clever.
So, moving on, we did have a few changes to our AI. Particularly, they now stop when they are running out of ATP, so they don't starve themselves. And I think there's some other change if I can find it.
The
Yes, they won't.
chemoreceptors, actually.
Oh yes, that's been so early in the development, I kind of forgot about it. Felt like we've had it forever. But yes, so we have AI knows how to use chemoreceptors now, which means that should they have that part, they'll automatically seek out food items that they can smell, giving them the sense of direction they otherwise wouldn't have without them. This is a big game changer in the game. And Film, if you'd like to talk about that anymore, since you're the one who's worked on the AI the most.
I would love to. Yeah, that was one of the odds and ends. I think I looked at Hereland's code and thought, oh man, that is real easy. I could just make some AI work with that. And I really like the challenge aspect. I think it adds to things. Maybe not in the best way because it keeps you from end state, but I would set up a chemoreceptor for phosphate, and lo and behold, every other cell of my species is going and diving for it. It actually necessitated, very interestingly, a different algorithm for how the smell works. Whereas instead of just going grid by grid looking for every possible place there might be a chemical, it now kind of almost moves like that little line in radar in cartoons and probably also real life that kind of goes in a circle and looks to see if it's like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So that was also an interesting kind of case of where one bit of code needed another bit, but now things run much faster, which is always good.
Yeah, I noticed, sorry. I noticed when I was playing Thrive recently, because I was doing a bit of testing to make sure that things were all worked out, that I would go for, like, glucose or thing I wanted, and then a cell would, like, dive bomb in and take it from me. So there's some clear thought that went into that, and I think it's really cool that some competition there, and you have to kind of compete against your own species and species like you. So yeah, that was a good plan. I like that a lot.
Alright, so yeah, aside from the chemoreceptors, the AI, like I mentioned earlier, will now stop if it's starving. So you won't be running into that unless they just have no resources at all. It's a pretty niche circumstance, but it goes a long way in helping them. It's also based on their activity, so if they're a very active species, they won't bother stopping regardless. And then we also, they won't get stuck in engulfment mode, which was also an occasional thing that happened. So, moving on. We have, let's see here. Ah, yes, the new sounds. So as, Twitchy Whales mentioned earlier, they ended up creating a new sound for our starvation when you run out of ATP. And I must say that from what I've seen, everyone enjoys that. So, look forward to some new sounds that you might find in the game in the future. Something akin to that.
They're really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Thank you.
They did a really good job.
Speaking as the person who made a lot of the sound effects in the game, we definitely need to keep replacing them. There needs to be some overhauls of that.
I can work on that.
Yeah.
Alright. So, with that out of the way, is there anything I'm missing, or should we move on to the most popular feature?
I think we should move on. I think we've covered everything, unless I don't know.
Well, we haven't covered like even like 10% of all of the patch notes, but all of the major points probably.
A lot of them are bug fixes, but I can list them out.
I think
Oh!
if people want to look at the bug
I
fixes,
know what
they
I'm
can go and read
forgetting.
themselves. Oh, go on.
I'm forgetting the procedural names for the patches.
Ah, yes.
That's a big new thing we have. So, Pangonia is a thing of the past, though maybe it could still be generated in some way or another.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, if you have something to say, go ahead.
I wanted to say that it has a very small chance of being generated again right now, but I want to bump it up maybe in the next update.
Here's an epic hack. If you get Pangonia, the devs will give you underwater Civ. Trust
No,
me,
don't
bro.
say that. It's possible.
No, don't say that. Even one chance in a billion of billions, we don't want to take it. Like that.
Okay, alright. Sorry, guys. April Fool.
Is Maxinovian becoming a printer for anyone else again?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
afraid so.
Yep, he's back.
Oh no.
Oh no. Please tell me
Printer.
it has not.
Sounds like dial-up.
Tasty.
Nice to
Anyhow.
meet you again, Printer Max.
So, yeah, so you'll find
my
that each time you start the game, you'll find a new, completely unique name to greet you for your world.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And I suppose, other than that, we have the various miscellaneous fixes, from changes to how the chemoreceptor tracks, and sessile species. Nope, hold on. Aha, yes, here we go. So we actually had a change to the... Oh, I didn't know that made that into that update. Yeah, good. So yes, colonies now have an osmoregulation discount based on how many cells they are. If I do recall correctly, that's going to be about 5%, yes?
Approximately. Like it goes down for every colony member you have because it's kind of like a stop gap. So you can't go like receive receive ATP from osmoregulation.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So,
it's Steam's formula, not mine. I just copied it and modified it.
no problem. So now your colonies will be just a little bit more effective since they don't need as much energy to maintain themselves. So that's a good thing. Looks like we have some performance improvements. Various cell chunks and other chunks will now despawn once you move out of the radius, and are also part of the new entity limit. So that should go a long way in keeping things manageable in terms of frame rate and performance. So that's good. And of course, there's been some balance changes. A while back I ended up changing the nucleus cost from 100 MP to 70. My reasoning for that was that there was a lot of players who were complaining about the nucleus taking an entire generation, basically wasting that. And I understood that, but I figured I'd go ahead and give it a try and reduce it to a smaller cost. It's not enough to buy much of anything, but it does allow you to modify your organism just a little. Mainly just changing the shape of it as needed.
I think that's a welcome balance.
And I suppose it's time. Shall we move on to multicellular?
Yeah, let's get to it.
Alright, so the big thing that we worked on in this update, or rather Hirolainen worked on, was the multicellular prototype. Now this is a bit different than other features in that it's not exactly official. It's not concrete, is what I'm trying to say. Everything that it currently is subject to change if needed. And it also will not remain the focus of our development until we complete the microbe stage. Here, Landon, would you like to take it from here?
Well, once again, usually these streams happen before people have had a chance to play the actual release, so not really sure what I should really say, but maybe a quick overview is that you can now once you make a big enough cell colony, there's a new button you can press to become a multicellular organism, and you can design a cell layout, create new cell types, specialize them, and then swim around as that new multicellular species where you no longer can unbind from the colony and need to collect resources to build out the colony and then get to the editor again to add more cells and modify the cell types. And I did quite a bit of background work on the editor to refactor it into smaller pieces so that the multicellular editor can embed the cell editor so that you can still have all of the features there available to use on all of the cell types. and hopefully the new editor code base will be much better in the future to build other new editors on top of it.
All right.
So just to clarify a bit there, in case people didn't catch that, you can put lots of cells together in the multicellular editor, and then you can edit the cells individually in the cell editor. So you kind of, it's more freedom over the design of the organism than you might expect.
Well, you can edit the cell type, so
yes,
when you edit a cell, you edit all cells of that type, but you can make the types for free. So if you wanted, you could have 8 different types and only place 1 cell of each type if you wanted. But
yeah. Also, a lot of people have mentioned that the cells are kind of spread out right now, and that will be subject to change, but you probably won't see any changes to how that looks until we have the 3D membrane down, I believe, and we make sure that the physics work so that they can all kind of squish together without it looking weird, which will take a while. So yeah, I wouldn't expect any changes for a while. Probably like 3 to 6 months, probably. I think. I could be wrong about that.
I don't think we can put a number on that.
yeah, I mean, we can probably say that won't happen in 6 months, but like how far away are we? I don't think anyone except nuns would be able to say that how far away we are from the 3D membranes, and also in the multicellular, I basically reuse the colony logic, so how the cells attach together and how close they are. That's exactly the same as in the microbe states as when you are a colony. So I reuse the existing functionality to make the prototype faster.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to figure that out in later. Yeah.
It's always next time.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else someone would like to add, or shall we move on to something else?
I think it's time for questions, unless I'm rushing. I don't know.
We can
half an hour.
Move on to the. I'll put the pre-stream questions visible on the stream. There was one priority question this time, and this one goes out to Oliver. So.
Yes, it does. It's a very simple question. How will the multicellular stage's soundtrack differ from that of the microbe stage? Well, the kind of vision I've had for it is that the microbe stage soundtrack is very simple and very flowing. It's all like synth pads. Well, I mean, it's what you've heard in the game for a while now. And then as you progress through the game, the tracks will become more complex and more diverse. At least that's my hope for it. So the multicellular soundtrack will be the next step in that progression. So everything will still be quite slow and floaty and watery, but there'll perhaps be new instruments. I think there's, for instance, some strings, some drum kits in what we've got already. Some of the tracks that are in the prototype, I would say, are probably not quite simple enough and appropriate for this stage. These are my tracks I'm talking about here. So I think we do need some more multicellular specific tracks moving forward. But we have multiple new sound people here, so hopefully that can happen.
Yeah, I picked some of the multicellular tracks to put in the game to celebrate the prototype a bit and to give some new music tracks for people.
Yeah, it was nice playing the game and hearing some different music for a change. I will say that.
Yeah, hopefully people will enjoy them. And right now the prototype will have a mix of microbe and some newer tracks, because there weren't enough of the new tracks really fill it out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why I said we needed some more. But yeah, hopefully that answers that question, and we can move on.
Yeah, then we had the non-priority questions, the normal pre-stream questions. Should be on screen now. Anyone volunteer to read the first one?
I could if you'd like.
Well, go ahead then.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with doom lighting. Now that they have added the prototype of the multicellular, do you have a particular direction that you plan to go with or add something to? Like, for example, a matrix between the cells or a way that you can swallow cells that are usually larger than you, and now that you are multicellular, are you able to swallow them? Are there plans to add more ingredients to the game, like different types of sugars, different gases or byproducts? Any new plan to add a mass extinction in the close field?
Let's answer the first part.
Yes, we might have to take this one step at a time.
Yeah, so basically I think what they're saying is, do you have any particular direction that you would like multicellular to go, or when we wrap up cellular, where would we go from there to advance into multicellular? How would we do that?
Well, is anyone up for answering that, or?
Well, I'll start by striking off the second part that basically we do have plans to rework how the cell colonies look, but that's kind of waiting for the 3D membranes to get done first. So waiting to be done regarding that. And personally, for myself, as I've said for like many years, I want to make basic prototypes of all of the stages. So I think I'll need to maybe focus on a small patch release next. But after that, if there isn't anything more like high priority or something that needs to be done, I think I'll give a go on the macroscopic transition that has a button in the prototype already but doesn't do anything. So I would continue making later prototypes starting from there.
All right, thank you here, Landon. I would like to add that. I would like to add that a lot of their plans are still kind of loose, so we'll probably need to take some time to carefully discuss this before we can say anything concrete. Personally, I think that something like swallowing cells larger than you might be something that happens once you're able to develop more complex organs like a stomach or something, but we'll just have to see.
I mean,
would anyone...
This is pretty small feature, so I mean, someone could probably code it in less than 30 minutes, and we'd have play testing for the change of colonies being able to like eat anything that is smaller than the colony in total.
I made a branch for that a while back.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing that concerns me there is just, is that realistic? I'm not sure.
Can you eat things bigger than one of your cells?
Mm-hmm.
It sounded like you were asking, can you personally eat things bigger than you there?
Well, can you eat something?
I'm hoping the answer's no.
I assume the rule is, if you have more than one cell, you can eat something smaller than you, but bigger than one of your cells.
Right, but I'm actually not sure how that works. I mean, with multicellular organisms, you have the whole stomach deal and all that, where you can actually compartmentalize what you eat and process it. But in something as small as like a collection of 3 cells, how might that work? It just intrigues me. But I guess that's something for another time.
Should we move on to the next part of the question? Well, I guess it's a second question. They're kind of all...
Yes. So,
Okay.
if anyone would like to answer that, I can answer it myself, but
I think maybe to save time we can. I mean, I can strike out these 2 questions by saying that. I mean, we probably won't focus on adding like new compounds anytime soon, because it's like not like the main path for the game includes like the current parts, but won't include like alternatives to car sources or something like that. So
Also, that could confuse the player and complicate things. So I think like most of something you go to is kind of better than like, oh, look at all these different kinds of things that all do the same. It's kind of a bit redundant. I don't know. Don't want to sound.
And on stream, I think we have said like almost every stream that there used to be these oxygen and carbon dioxide clouds, but it simplified the game a lot when we removed them. So I think that it was a good decision to remove those gas types that like had extra complexity in the game. And then sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, when you're making a game, you have to keep in mind that it isn't like a perfect simulator of real life, and you have to simplify things a bit. But yeah, so.
And you have to put priorities on things. So, I mean, I've been many times when someone asks, will this be added to the game? I can say that sure, but it is not a priority. So,
but it may be dependent on new people joining who want to make it a priority. If they, for instance, want to develop.
Yeah, that is of course possible. Of course, someone might show up and get pull request, and if it's well done and doesn't like make the game worse, we get some playtesting done on it to confirm that, then we'll accept that change.
I feel like the mass extinction thing, that question, is... I feel like an option for it would be really cool, but I don't think it should be in the main game, because then people...
So on that part,
the Great Oxygenation event is something that we talk about a lot, and it's planned.
Oh, okay.
Am I still a printer?
No, you sound fine this time.
Okay. So since this is one of the things, the Great Oxygenation event I'm working on, I can rather safely say that you may have specific situations that will trigger mass extinction based on the changing in the environment and the fauna, microbial fauna you have around. So the Great Oxygenation event is the very example for this. When oxygen's level will start to rise, a lot of species will just disappear, and this is overall the kind of settings that appears optimal to me. That is not hard coding extinction events, but just having the auto evo trigger them because the world just changes, and you get similar things that happen. This may be enriched by things like evolution in the patches that are not dependent on the species, which is another branch I'm not working on. I may consider in the future, or someone else. But yeah, so overall, there will probably be extinction events in the end, but they will not be like real events. They will just be things that happen like in real life.
Well, if I could
Gotcha.
add a caveat to that, there's been an idea around for a while to include a extremely hard mode where you can just everything suddenly dies for no reason or without warning, and it says your planet has been hit by an asteroid, you lose. I don't think that would be any fun, but I kind of want that to be in the game anyway, just as an extremely hard option to go with.
It could be like an April Fool's mode again. I don't know why I keep bringing that up, or like a joke mode.
Possibly. Buckley says he has to leave now, and he's turning it over to me. So
yes, good
okay.
night.
Maybe the asteroid could not be just completely random. I know it sounds crazy. It's astronomical events outside of the player's control, but I feel like it would be less feel bad if doing certain things made the asteroid more or less common. Like maybe it's higher if you're doing poorly. Just put you out of your misery.
I don't think I don't think it deserves much extra thought on it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if selecting the initial solar system conditions like that impacted the asteroid chance, that would be probably fine.
Yeah. Right. Shall we move on to the next question? I can't remember what that was.
Yeah. After we become macroscopic, will we be able to make traps for prey to fall into? I think that's a cool question. I think we already kind of are able to do that with the using cells, stuff like that. With somebody said it, I can't remember who.
Yeah, there have been some instances of people making kind of mouth shapes out of multiple cells stuck together, where their prey just falls into the mouth, which is that's a very cool example of this kind of emergent gameplay. I don't think we can really answer this question as it was intended.
Yeah,
right now,
I mean, this is one of those that probably will add this feature at some point to the game.
Yeah.
Perhaps one thing that would be interesting in this light is the use of signaling agents as pheromones that are used to attract prey. So not traps per se. You can, of course, perhaps you will be able to do more complex things afterwards, like Leaf said. But at least there may be things related to attracting other species with a kind of pheromones-like mechanism. That is also a possibility. Other things more complex will be up to the players to create, I guess.
Okay, before we actually these two questions, the one that Otters and Dan both kind of tie together. But I guess we can do Dan's first, actually. Okay, so are there any specific features you plan to add in the next few updates? I personally do, or at least I hope I do. Cilia, I want to get it done. I want to make it happen at any cost. I will sacrifice something. You won't know what it is, but I will. I want Cilia done in the next few updates. Hopefully this one or the next. But yeah, that's my personal vendetta.
We'll see if you manage to recruit a programmer to make it for you. And I think this is the once again the time in the stream when I have to say that the way we plan releases is basically to open a thread on the development forums after this stream. So the next release has not been planned at all. So pretty useless to ask each stream. But I think we always end up talking about what features each person wants to work on next. So I already thought about patch and more prototypes. So does anyone else have anything they want to talk about?
Well, I
Yeah,
would like
well,
to... Oh, sorry.
Olive, please go ahead. No.
I've just finished my thought. I said I'd like to get more into the programming side of things, so I have a list of things that I'd like to start work on, but I'll reveal those in due course.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody-
so my plans for the next updates are very much the ones that were there prior to that. I may go over this a bit later, but essentially getting the O2 Evo in a better shape, which has turned out to be a necessary step for setting up a real evolving environment as well, not microbules, but a compound. So changing compounds will require a better O2 Evo, so these two in 2 steps will be my main plans for the next update.
Anyone
Does
else have any
anybody
plans for... Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. We were asking.
Anyone else have particular plans for things they'd like to work on? I think we've been over...
I was thinking about working on like a multicellular track in the future.
That would definitely be highly helpful.
That'd be awesome. Oh, also, Nuns has been working on, more realistic chunks and... Oh, what was it?
I feel like we should clarify that's iron chunks, as in game models.
Yeah, iron chunks.
In the game.
That's what...
More realistic chunks without context is perhaps not particularly descriptive.
Or realistic flesh wound. I don't... Because that's a bad... I don't... Sorry, ignore me. But yeah, made that, and it's lovely and wonderful. Is actually based on how iron, under a microscope, they look in real life, but it still has that element of iron with it. So yeah, he did an amazing job with it. Yeah. Should we move? Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was going to say, I just a couple days ago started a multicellular AI prototype in a fit of passion. It's something that I kind of just went off with. I didn't really ask for permission or talk about it, so 50-50 chance of it getting into Master Branch or the Extinction Hole, but it has certainly been exciting so far.
I look forward to seeing that. It would be very nice if the AI had any idea what cell colonies are.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Is that everybody? Okay, next question. Alright. This is by Dios. Of the features yet to be added to the microbe stage, which ones do you think will most significantly change the game design? I think environmental tolerances will be rather transformative. Second question. Actually, let's just start with that.
We'll focus on that one first. So environmental tolerances, as Maxinovian was talking about, I suppose that's what he's referring to here. Things like how the environment will change in response to the microbes and the organisms inside it. That will definitely have a big impact. There are similar things, I think, that will have some big impact on the microbe stage. So we talked about day-night cycles for a while. That would be quite a big one. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
The idea that we no longer would have any organelles. Instead, you would endosymbiosis, like the more complex parts, and that would be actually a massive overtaking of ripping out all of the previous things and making sure that players can always get useful parts, and so many different like organelle editors, and so much stuff would need to be made for that to work. So I bet the day when we decide that we absolutely need to have that feature done.
Yeah, I think this is a fairly important point. I like a lot. So it's been worked on by R.A.D. Casteresque a bit, if I remember well, with engulfment revamp, which was the first step toward it, and I believe it will be one of the major game changer for the unicellular stage. And also, thank you, Oliver, because yeah, I feel like changing compounds will be very important, but there are a lot of aspects to this. It will probably also include patches changing with tectonics and the like, and so I believe that these two, perhaps not so, these two features would be very important, but also they will have a lot of ramifications um, before being actually very active. I think Endosymbiosis is probably a greater game changer because it will be much more constrained within a single change.
I was gonna say that this will make the game more replayable, the changing compounds and the procedural generated patches. Like every time you get another planet, another patch map, and you could experiment to see how to destroy the atmosphere better, I guess.
Do we have any other thoughts on this, or shall we move on to the next question? I think that's moving on to the next question.
Yeah. Okay, what upcoming features of Thrive most intimidates... What?
Intimidates you in terms of getting them done. So which are going to be the hardest to create?
Oh, okay. In terms of getting them done, for example, does the aware stage seem like a really difficult thing to program / conceptualize? Okay, I'm gonna leave that to you guys because this isn't my field.
I already kind of answered that the endosymbiosis will be very difficult, and I guess the other big thing that we actually know about right now is reworking the membranes and making them look different when in a colony. Those will be very difficult to do, and I'm still kind of hopeful that the actual like 3D animation, well, they are going to be like abominations at first, but it should be hopefully like actually doable, at least when we start from like a clean slate, and then in all of the metabors and convolution surface stuff and so on, that might actually turn out in the end to be very difficult, but right now it looks sort of like easier than doing those two things I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I'd also like side by Nunes saying that, in fact, Tuivo is one of the worst nightmare to me in a sense, because the thing is, it's probably not as hard as other things, such as convolution surfaces or whatever, but the way to test if it's working or not, to know what to implement, what to not implement for it to be realistic on the one hand, but also fitting to our game on the other hand. Dealing with the two will be probably very complicated. So I feel like shaping the right AutoEvo algorithm that is also not too slow will be pretty much of a pain, and this will probably take a long time and many steps of trials and upgrade.
Yeah, I forgot about the AutoEvo. It has caused many team members to disappear in the past who have tried to solve it.
Yeah, I think the current AutoEvo system we have in game, it certainly works well. We're just looking for better solutions and solutions that are more compatible with things as we move forward. New things are added.
It's enough for the game we have now.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
The current system is pretty much DJ Wales energy gathering idea, and it's actually pretty simple. So, I mean, I see quite a bit of criticism that Auto Evo doesn't like do anything sensible, and the community Discord people like all the time say that I made this wonderful abomination and Auto Evo thinks it should go extinct immediately. And I think there's room to like completely replace the algorithm with something else, but that will have to be better than currently is to warrant replacing it.
Yeah, on that point, I'd like to mention two things. First, the current Twive algorithm is actually a bit buggy at times, and by delving into it with Buckley, we found out a few things that were like not intended and were actually harmful to good results. So one of the thing is for the current version, unfortunately, the AutoEvo will penalize if your balance is too high. That means if you produce 2 times more ATP than you consume, the AutoEvo will penalize you more than if you have a really balanced cell, that is, one that produces as much as it consumes. So this is unfortunate. We're working around this and we're very much hoping to bring it as soon as possible. And yeah, overall we have a greater work on fixing a few things to get the AutoEvo behave more naturally. The other point I wanted to mention is that dealing well with one cell as a player doesn't mean that this cell is necessarily a fit cell. One of the reasons for it might be that you are using something that the cells don't have, that is brain. And if your cell was to sustain a brain, it could go very much extinct, because this is very demanding. That's about 20% of our total energy, just to say. So yeah, there's a discrepancy between what a cell can really do and what the player can do as a cell. And this is a tension that we have to find a way to resolve properly in the game. We already have a small system mixing AutoEvo and what happens on screen, but that still leaves room for improvement.
I feel like that's a fairly thorough answer to the question of what intimidates you about AutoEvo. Some other things that I thought of that might be intimidating. Currents has been on the back burner for a long time. I'm quite excited to see them in, but I know that was going to be a very difficult thing to add. Would anyone like to chime in on those?
Yeah, I would actually, because Cilia kind of pair along with currents, I've heard. Because Cilia can kind of help you ride the current a bit, I believe, or help you go faster in it, which could be fun. Yeah, because that's going to take a mix of graphic design and coding and all this other mess, so yeah, and probably some animation, actually. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a tricky thing. Something we could try to focus on, but I think we should implement Cilia before we do current. Well, I guess it doesn't matter the order, so...
I mean, Nuns has just posted, he said the currents themselves were easy, it was just getting them to like be interesting from a gameplay perspective.
Gotcha.
Is difficult. So yes, that will take some time.
Yeah, the undone parts of the currents are some way to show them graphically, and second part is to make like larger current areas, because right now currents exist in the game, but they are basically like a random field of vectors which push chunks and compound clouds around, but they don't like make these big uniform like paths that people think currents are. So those two things need to be solved, and those have been like, we have been waiting many years for someone to try to actually make that. So
yeah, I guess we'll have to figure that out.
I also guess we'll have to move on to the next question, because we do need to speed up.
Yeah, maybe we'll keep pretty quickly over those.
Okay.
This
so
next
question is also from Deus. Any Thrive design hot takes
got any hot takes, guys? I did like a. Anyway, I guess I do.
Please phrase this in one sentence because it's a hot take. It can be short.
Personally, I don't think underwater civ is that bad. It would be really hard to implement and probably not a good idea just because of the fact that nobody would want to do it. But I don't think that I have a soft spot for them, and it's not because my persona is a fish.
I did ask for one sentence only. Anyone else have hot takes?
Day-night cycles won't balance photosynthesis.
Ah, that's an interesting one.
I don't really have a hot take, but comment on the previous two. Just today, I once again commented on the underwater discussion that I have run out of sanity discussion, and I will step back once again. And
yes, I think that the point we should make is that once again, underwater civilization is very far away in the future. We can't say can't say anything about how or if they will be implemented. Let's just leave it at that.
I mean, I've maybe already last year I gave the challenge to the people that you have to write like a scientific essay starting from things that occur naturally underwater and show how they are going to build all modern technology. And no one has attempted that. Everyone just says that. But what about this one random thing that humans have made in the past 50 years with massive industries? Like you didn't even prove that that thing can be made underwater first, and then you try to derail the current discussion with that. So I'm once again done with that discussion for a while.
I feel like, personally, I don't know if they'd get to a space stage, but I think some sort of... I don't know if tribals...
Well, we have maintained since its inception that getting to tribal underwater would be fine. It's anything past...
Yeah, and also if you are an amphibian, then you don't have a problem. Just pure 100% underwater civilization, getting metal and get into the space age. That's that we don't want to talk about. People haven't been able to show that it would actually work.
So I guess I wouldn't say it's necessarily a promise, but far more likely to have an underwater tribe than an underwater empire with technology of
if
electricity.
I can cut in, were we even asked about underwater civilizations
no,
this
we
time?
weren't.
No,
Or we do this to ourselves?
Yeah, this is a hot take.
Yes.
I think this is the hottest take possible in Thrive discussion, actually.
It's hot because it's near the underwater vents.
Oh.
Hey. Right. Let's move on.
I'm gonna bet no money because it's so far away, but there's gonna be some version that has society stage and there just isn't a hook to prevent you from inventing fire underwater. So people just completely all play on that version and to get their underwater sim fantasies.
Okay.
Probably.
When you become macroscopic, will you lose the ability to change every cell? I don't.
This is pretty easy to answer with that. The current plans in my head, that's a no. And basically tissue types will be derived from the cells, so maybe you will still use the cell editor to edit them, their properties.
Okay, should we move on then?
Yeah, let's move on.
I had one hot take as well, but we
keep going back to this. Okay.
One more hot
It
take.
was about signaling agents. I believe that signaling agents should affect the player, although I recognize that we need to find a way to make it not too boring for the player, because it's still a game, but the player has to be affected as other cells, because otherwise that's too unfair.
That's an interesting one. The only question is, how would that feel natural?
My idea is just put a prompt. The player is free to follow or not follow. So if they think the AI is good, they'll heed. If they think the AI is bad, they'll do whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Subnautica where I think there was this one hypno creature that, like, if you look at it, like, you phase in, but you can fight it and then, like, swim away or something like that. I feel like maybe it will pull you or make you go away in a certain direction, but you can fight it if you really want to. I don't know.
These are all speculation at the moment.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
But yes.
Anyway.
So we answered, when you become macroscopic, do you lose the ability to change every cell? Whether probably not, right? So let's move on.
Probably not. Okay. How will? Oh. Sorry.
No,
how? Oh, how will different reproduction options affect gameplay? Also, what are your estimates for the number of cells needed to progress to macroscopic? One more thing. Actually, let's just start with those two.
I'll answer the second part. So, I set the limit to 20 for now, just because it seems pretty good number. And well, I mean the limit will probably be something like 20 to 50 in the future, just because like the game performance will like tank really hard if we have too many cells. So basically that's a technical limitation, and well, if we can somehow make the game run faster, then we can reconsider. But for now, like that's basically the answer, something like around 20.
I don't know if anybody has any answer to the reproduction thing, because I guess that's still speculation or opinions, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, I mean,
I could give an educated guess on this, but if you want to go, HH.
Well, yeah, I mean the current method, budding, I think it's like the simplest method, so that's why it is the default. And then obviously the game needs to at some point switch to sexual reproduction, so that will definitely be at least a second option.
Yeah, and on that part, sexual reproduction in real life has so the main effect is that when you have sexual reproduction, you have a mixing of genes, and so this is a way to kind of, if I get it well, exclude some really some latent bad genes. If you've got a mutation, it will be recombined with a non-mutation when you reproduce. So this will only take this will prevent having an underlying pool of bad mutations that just happen to stay because they come with good mutations, and so this just make a sexual population very fragile because they can just happen to go out of nowhere. But on the other hand, it like a sexual reproduction trigger a large pool of adaptation, and so this means that probably there will be changes in mutation rates. But I'm not entirely aware of how these two differs, so unfortunately we don't have any theories to correct any issue I've said. But that's overall the approach I would recommend for this.
Okay. Should we move on to the next question, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think this next post isn't really a question at all, so I guess we can skip it.
Yeah. Oh boy, this is a whole heck of a question. Okay.
I think we might want to pick some specific parts from here.
Okay, so how non-lark did you intend to what?
Log, life as we know it. This is basically a concept that if something doesn't exist on Earth and we don't have good like evidence that it probably could exist very easily, then
Oh, okay.
then that will not be included in the game by default, and there will be this option to include those things in the game if you want to start a new game. For example, the thermoblast organelle would be locked behind this option.
Oh, okay. All right.
Would spikes also be blocked behind that option? Because I have seen some criticisms from people that cells don't actually go around stabbing each other in this game, in the way we have currently.
Well, I don't know, like the spikes were like accepted to the game design, so like way before I joined, I think. So they just got in basically with the well, I guess if we add an upgrade system where the spikes actually turn into the things that exist in real life, maybe they'll get a free pass because of that.
So the second question is, will there be alternate ways of becoming multicellular without a nucleus?
Well, I mean, this is kind of like life as we know it thing as well, because like on Earth it seems like the nucleus is like a cheat code to much more complex life, so I think we'll try to follow that in the game well.
So it simplifies things again, makes it more...
Yeah, this is related to the main part of the game, so I think we should focus on like the main part from microbe to ascension and try to make that first, and everything that doesn't like hit on the intended part of the game, like that's low priority stuff to think about.
And finally, what are your options on adding Earth life?
Opinions on that?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can probably make Earth life, maybe, most likely from, or something similar to it, I guess. Maybe like a Thrivified version, but besides
I think
that,
this
I don't
person's
really...
question is more about like, will you encounter life from Earth in the game?
Yeah,
like in the wild.
I mean,
I think probably not, because the idea is that the entire ecosystem will grow from the initial Luca last universal
that is a huge point. So on the player's planet, like nothing that is not derived from the Luca can exist. Like that's very much against the core of the game design, that everything evolves from you. But in space stage, people have suggested that Earth could exist like as an Easter egg. And to that I say, well, we might add it, but considering the limits of the game, like humans and other recognizable stuff will probably be like abominations, so maybe we don't want to attempt that for that reason.
I mean, we kind of need crabs, don't we?
We need crabs. If there aren't crabs, I'm not doing anything for Thrive ever again. That's a joke. Anyway, next question. Now that multicellular is at least in prototype stage, will the patch map be expanding more, thinking specifically land-based patches? Mind you, the last time I actually played myself, the patch map had only just been added, so I'm not entirely sure what state it is in. Also, I'm a bit curious on exactly how the transition happens. Like, at what point do you get binding agents? Do you lose access to the cell editor and gain access to whatever we're going to call it? Or do you not lose access at all yet? You just use the editor for differentiating the cells between purposes, and those are the cells that you pick up in the other editor. They're just multiple tabs or something? I had another thought, but it's gone now.
I think the answer here is that this pretty much describes how the multicellular prototype is currently.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
in answer to the first question, I don't think we can answer the first question because Buckley's not here.
Well,
He's
I mean,
likely to know more about the
Chemical
patch
is
map.
planning on making the procedural patch map generator, so that might make it into the next release.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah, and
try.
that might, I could be wrong. Would that tie into cellular? Nope, the planets too, or would that just be like one procedural, or would they all?
Yeah, it should depend on the planet. The patch map will depend on the planet once the planet generator is done.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to work on the planet generator, which will be really cool or really difficult, probably both. So I guess we'll have to figure that out. Anyway, are the cell processes going to be more complicated at any point in development, or are they going to be more chemical, more enzymes, etc.? Also, by the way, Happy Easter, everyone. Thank you for saying Happy Easter. I appreciate it. Happy Easter, Nai. That's the person who...
I think we answered this question already.
Okay. Alright, then let's move on.
And
Mutate will remain...
the answer was probably not.
Okay.
Yep.
In that case, because we want to keep things simplified.
Yep. Okay. Okay, mutate will remain the same in the multicellular stage, or will it be different? Oh, so I guess auto evo is the what? Like, will
maybe.
auto evo be?
Maybe
Okay.
this could also be asking about the editor. So,
Yeah.
a simple answer is
Like...
at least in the prototype so far, it's basically the same, but we haven't added the mutation for multicellular organisms yet, but I think it will be pretty similar. It will modify the cell types and try to place new ones and move them around, stuff like that. Basically the same thing as for organelles, it will attempt that for the cells as well. But yeah, later on we will need to like rethink the whole thing, how the Evo will make like metaball based creatures.
So Thunder asked, and their profile picture is an anime character with a gun, and I think that's very funny. They said, I'm really happy for you guys to have the second stage in development. I have a few questions. How are the patch and planet generator... How's the patch and planet generator doing? I think we answered this, actually. What possible non-Earth organelles could be possible to add in the game? That's an interesting one. How is the 2D to 3D transition? What will it look like, or is that too soon? I think we also answered this, that the game will technically be fully... I guess that's not what they're asking. Will the finished prototype of 2D multicellular have the cells actually combined instead of floating between each other? The last one I can answer is hopefully.
Well,
hopefully.
Well, I don't. I did already that part of the prototype, so doesn't look very good.
I think,
at least for the prototype to get that changed.
I think. How is the 2D to 3D transition? The transition will, I believe, happen. I guess it's more top view to like third person. I'm guessing. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. We'll do some kind of camera sweep from the top-down view to the side view or behind the creature.
Yeah. What possible non-Earth organelles could be added to the game? That's something I have no idea.
Well,
I think we already
thermoplast.
have
Thermoplast is one. Does anyone else want to add anything more to that?
Chemoreceptor, I believe too. That one's a bit different.
Well, I mean, I tried to write the flavor text to clear that up. So in real life, all cells just use chemoreception.
Yeah.
But we wanted to kind of give the player some extra radar capability. So technically that organelle doesn't exist, but let's just pretend that it is like evolving more sensitive chemoreception.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Next one.
Just as note on the chemoreceptor, in fact, all cells in real life use it, and our cells also, our AI cells, use some kind of chemoreceptions, not the organelle, but simply when they encounter a cloud, they just sense what they take and will move towards the way in which they will get more inputs. This is called running and tumbling, and so this is what our AI cells do. The reason why the chemoreceptor is useful is because in real life you always have a bit of compounds everywhere, so you can do it pretty much everywhere. In our game, most parts are devoid of any compounds, and so you don't have any input to improve. So, well, that's a route possible to improve it, or to just stick with what we have on chemoreceptors. I guess that's discussions for another day.
Okay, cool. This question, I guess. According to the current multicellular stage GDD, in the late macroscopic game, the different tissue representing large I don't think that's algorithm.
Maybe we'll just skip to the end,
Yeah.
and which is that basically, I think I already mentioned this, that the plan is to use the cell editor to edit the tissue types. And
Okay.
yeah, the question was then, how will we take the cell edited cell and derive the tissue type, like properties from it. So, well, I don't have an answer, and we'll probably just figure something out when we get there.
Okay, moving on then. How is waste management gonna be dealt with? I don't know if that was thought about, but it's
Probably like in some kind of strategy games, maybe as complex as something like SimCity, or maybe even more complex.
It depends on what type of waste they're talking about. Are they talking about waste from chemical processes in cells, waste from digestion in animals, waste from civilizations? It's not entirely clear to me.
Yeah,
I guess
very clear.
Yeah, sorry, it will be.
I'm assuming they're talking about the thing we can discuss in detail, i.e., the microbe stage. There are waste products from the chemical processes that exist in the game currently, but things like carbon dioxide are just secreted directly into the atmosphere and do not become compound clouds.
Well, and maybe once the effect on the environment is done, then that will have an effect on the planet itself. But for now, cells just dump out the compounds they don't need, and in terms of the gas compounds, those just appear.
Yeah, so I guess the answer is it will depend on the stage and all sorts of different things, and but that's, I guess, a question for later us. Okay. Will the amount of ammonia and phosphate you need in order to evolve in the mid-late multicellular and late micro stage be lessened? It takes extremely long to get compounds after you are in an hour or two.
Well, Buckley managed to leave before answering this one, so
Oof.
I think we'll do some game balancing to make sure the time between editor sessions doesn't get ridiculous.
Yeah. I think as you go into macroscopic, the main way... Okay,
That's probably like an answer to the above poster.
Yeah.
And pretty good point
what
that
is...
like once you are a huge creature, you won't eat clouds anymore. You'll eat smaller creatures.
What is the current status of the feature to vary the okay.
I think we've spoken about this already.
Okay, alright.
When Maximilian was talking about it.
Okay.
I mean, if you'd like to expand on it a bit more, that would be quite nice in response to this question about the concentration of atmospheric gases and how they will vary with time. Or not.
I guess.
I guess,
Okay.
I guess we have heard everything there is to know about it already.
Yeah. Anyway,
Possible.
can we get? Oh, sorry. Can we get another episode of Let's Code Thrive? So,
Well, I did the one episode, so I mean it is possible. Possible there will be a second part, but probably not very
oh
soon.
boy, we have more
So,
questions.
yeah,
Okay.
we can move on to the stream chat questions in just a bit.
Yes,
but
we have
Okay.
finished answering questions that were posted in the pre-stream thread. So now we are just throwing the floor open to
We can
people
get rid of
who want
those.
to post questions
Oops.
in the YouTube chat. We have collected a load, or rather, Game Dungeon has collected a load. Hopefully, we'll work our way
Okay.
through them.
Okay, the first question is, do they actually read questions from YouTube?
No, we don't. Nope.
Oh, goodbye.
Well,
End the stream.
we had one stream where we didn't take any pre-stream questions. But well, I mean we have tried all kinds of ways, but I think overall probably good to have the pre-stream questions, maybe sometimes mixing in the stream questions like between the other questions or something like that better.
So, will planet generation be able to change? Oh, wait. Oh, will
Will
planet generation
be in the
Yeah.
coming updates? Is the question.
I think that was asked already and we answered.
possibly?
I don't know whether we
but-
answered about planet generation. We've spoken about things that were related to it.
Well, I'll just say that the planet generation, there's been like a mock-up of how it would look like, and I think someone started on it, but then they disappeared. So that is also a first feature. So not sure if anyone is going to attempt it for the next release.
Yeah, possibly, but probably. We'll figure it out. We don't know quite yet, I think.
Yeah,
is the answer.
a bit unlikely.
It's dependent on
Yeah.
who decides to work on it. Really, it's the main thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not I wouldn't say it's a particularly complicated feature compared to some of the other big things we've got coming up. It's just it's not a priority.
Yeah, if
because it won't affect too much.
If
right now.
any programmer was enthusiastic about it, they could probably finish in a few hours, like a basic
Oh yeah.
few options.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I ever learn programming, I think that would be a really fun thing to do, but I don't know programming, so I guess that will be a project for me to learn programming. Anyway,
Well, if you
I know
make
it's-
if you use the Godot editor, you can actually graphically make the user interface. So, I mean, there's a
Oh, that's
chance
awesome.
if you make that, then someone might code the logic for it. Or
yeah,
maybe that doesn't help at all. But
I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure it out privately, I guess. I don't know. Well, not privately, but, between devs and kind of, like, help each other out to figure out stuff. Because I still have to link Godot to Thrive. But yeah, next question. I know it's not in the development focus right now, but will Multicellular have a working delete/undo button soon?
it is on the list of like 50 things that the multicellular stage is missing. So
Yeah, it should be stressed that the multicellular version currently in game is very much a prototype and should not be expected to function.
yeah,
as a full game right now.
I only picked the most important features to work on it, so that I could get it done in a reasonable amount of time, and that was something I didn't work on. But we have had this dynamic MP thing for the editor for a while, so I'm kind of thinking about maybe I'll help finish that, and at the same time I'll up the multicellular editor to the undo system.
Okay, so the next question I think was already answered, but I could be wrong. Was it? Are there currently any plans for mechanics or organelles that are specifically meant for interaction with other cells in a colony/multicellular organism? I probably, but I think the signaling agent already does that, so I don't know.
That sounds like signaling agents and binding agents, really. I don't think we have anything else specialized in that.
Yeah, I guess when organs start happening in the late game or things like that, then there might be things like that. But for now, we're not quite sure. Will cells be able to overproduce compounds like they did to push it out into the patch, giving the benefits to other organisms in the playing field? I might have read that wrong. I probably read that wrong.
My read on this is that they're asking, can you produce excess compounds and release them into the environment for other cells to feed on?
That is kind of an accidental feature currently. I mean, we'll probably make it like a proper feature at some point.
I think it would be good to have as an intended feature at some point, but it's dependent on having multiple different types of metabolism being viable. And then you could have some emergent symbiotic behavior between different cells who are kind of exchanging compounds between each other. That could be quite cool.
Why do auto evo predictions always want you to be small and quick?
That is the energy model.
I can speak. Go ahead, Max.
No, be my guest.
Okay, I'm not. All right, cool. Yeah, I think really because Auto Evo wants you to be as efficient as possible, and the short answer is it doesn't like organelles that are not immediately generating energy in some way. You will find most games will converge upon a bacteria with nothing but thylakoids because that gives you points and anything else doesn't count. So Auto Evo kind of doesn't like interesting cells.
And if I may add this, which is a bit harsh, in real life as well, it is the real life Auto Evo is much more keen to simple organisms. If you take like unicellular organisms, there are probably more than there are multicellular organisms as a whole. The thing is, the simpler you are, the more population you can have, which is kind of logical. You need less atoms overall. So of course there are more complex processes, but as a rule of thumb, it is indeed better to be small. Now the thing is, if you in the game remain small, you will be in heavy competitions with others, and well, you may have dire times. So in a sense, if you want to go down a line that will not go extinct, the best way is probably to try and go for more complexity to reach the point where you will be the leading species of the planet in terms of spacefaring, and then you will just become a god and have finished the game. So, yeah, Auto Evo will probably always want smaller cells overall, but once there will be enough cells, it will be of interest to become a one step bigger for you as a player. And so this is how the race to space will begin.
If it's any consolation, population's not everything. I mean, there's a lot more ants than humans, but everybody wants to be human.
But do we know what the ants want? Maybe the ants
Who
want
cares?
to be
They're ants.
But there's a... Okay. I'm just saying, if we're voting on this democratically and all the ants vote for ants, then ants are gonna...
I vote ant rights.
The ants want cake.
The ants want... I want cake too! I can relate.
What does the cake want?
Oh my god, you're right. Oh, we
This is
haven't
why you can't let
thought
everyone
about that.
vote.
Oh my god. Hot take.
Democracy is 1,000 ants and a cake voting on what's for dinner.
I feel like we should move on before we get into some difficult areas here.
Okay, yeah, true. Where were we? Oh wait, when you go macroscopic and start becoming really big, how would the microbial stage be loaded? Will it be ignored, or will you Or could you use the microbic microbes as an alternative food source and diseases? Oliver, is it okay if you start reading?
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, this person appears to be asking, what interaction will there be between when you're in the multicellular stage? Will there be any kind of microbe stage to interact with? My guess is no, but I'm going to leave that to people who might.
I mean, the plan is that all of the earlier stages will keep impacting the gameplay later on. So my basic idea is that we'll keep like the microbe life going on in the background, like auto evo running from for them and stuff like that. But I guess the interaction between like the different stages will need to be fleshed out and designed. And well, I mean, from a gameplay perspective, I think we'll definitely unload like all the cell entities and stuff like that, because well, there would be like too many of them at some point. So we'll just make it so that, or say that all of the smaller stuff is so small that you cannot see them, and maybe render them as kind of clouds in the game, something.
Yeah, that would be quite cool.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of work to get like things like whales eating planktons, which is a quite huge step in scale, to get it work. So yeah, that's going to be something we need to discuss among us.
Right. Next question is, what stage are you most looking forward to? I think the best way to do this is to go person by person and just one word answer. What stage you're looking forward to? People type it out now, because we don't need to go through you. So Kraken, what stage are you most looking forward to?
I like the vastness of the aware stage.
Okay. Hiralainen, what stage are you most looking forward to?
I'll say the strategy stages.
Cool. Chemical?
Maybe the Ascension one, when you can explore the whole universe, I guess.
Aiming high. Maxinovia?
Awakening stage probably, but also Unicell is cool.
Nagarath?
Probably aware, I suppose.
Right. And Nuns has typed his. I'm most looking forward to a complete microbe stage, personally. And Rose?
Probably a mix between aware stage, the industrial stage, and all of.
Alright, Thim?
Awakening.
And Twitchy Wales?
I'm looking forward to the space stages.
Cool. I hope someone was keeping a tally of all those, because that would be quite instructive moving forward.
Also, aware, what was it? Awakening. Yeah, that tribes and stuff, and that will be exciting. Starting.
I'd like to point out how diverse these responses were. This is really, I believe, the essence of our development team.
Maybe we should all take charge of one particular stage. That would go terribly.
Oh. I don't think I could. There's so many.
Right, next question. What will the restrictions of evolution be? Will we be able to evolve to the point of creating biological machines or starships, or is that too far-fetched? I'm going to guess too far-fetched.
We had a discussion thread on the community forums where someone said that they want bioships. Me and a few other people tried to tell them that you need to show that they actually work, and they couldn't. So basically the same thing as underwater Civs happened there.
Yeah, I guess you could mod them. I mean, I guess I'll have to work on an underwater Civ mod.
There will definitely be an underwater Civ mod. It's too ingrained at this point.
Yeah, you have to. Along with like, what was it, a banana mod? I don't know.
It would be more surprising if there wasn't an underwater mod. Maybe that would say something about the underwater Civ proponents if they cannot even program their own mod to make it happen.
No, the gauntlet has been thrown. Right, next question. How do you intend to make the change from multicellular to complex organism? I feel like we've spoken about this a bit, unless anyone has anything to add.
I'll just say that my plan is that you hit the become macroscopic button and then all of your cells will be converted into metaballs. You get into the 3D editor. And that's how it happens.
All right. Next question: will we add some kind of cladogram or tree of life? I certainly hope so. I saw someone in the community Discord was creating one manually to track the progress of their own game, and it looked very nice. And to have something like that in the game would be very cool.
I think that is a planned feature, like included in the like Typhopedia or whatever the game wiki thing will be called. Like there would be some kind of graph there showing the history of the species.
Yeah, this is actually on my list right after fixing these compound production issues, and along with more data on AutoEvo, although I need to really settle how everything works and what is not worth it to add it because we will probably change it someday. So I'm trying to prioritize it, but I hope to bring it anytime fairly soon.
I feel like to be able to make a proper tree with images too and stuff, I feel like you'd need to have you know how Spore has the PNGs of every single species and it can just bring them up and everything's just saved in those? I feel like you need that, but with Thrive cells or things like that before you can...
Actually for the multicellular editor, it actually shows the images of the cells. I actually wrote the code where you can basically say, here's a cell type definition, give me a picture of this, and then the code does that, so we almost already have that.
Yeah, we're very close. Now we just need to make them PNG. I don't know. For sharing them around, I guess.
Well, yeah, that could actually be made. Like, I think there is like ancient 5+ years old issue that we should add like feature loading or something like that to the rebuild editor.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd enjoy that. So what's next?
Next question is when will water currents be added in early multicellular? We've spoken about this before. Don't know. I think.
Yeah, when we get someone who can work on them.
Yes. When Nuns figures it out, I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Will we be able to edit our planet like atmosphere and gravity? Yes, that was the planet generation. We spoke about that. On to the next batch of questions. Once endosymbiosis is added, what will happen to the player if an AI cell engulfs the player? Do you continue playing as a cell or lose all control? That's something I hadn't really thought about before. I feel like it's probably too complicated a thing to add.
I mean, yeah, some have said that they want to be mind controlling parasites, and that seems like very convoluted to make in the game. So I think for simplicity, if you like get eaten and are no longer in control, like we count that as a death in the game. That's the simpler thing, but like maybe someone will make a mod or official feature where there's huge amount of gameplay as a parasite or something like that.
Next question. How did we pull off this incredible update so fast? Oh, thank you. I shouldn't be thanked for this. This should be Hero Lane mostly.
Yeah. Well, basically the explanation is that thanks to support from the Steam release and the Patreon. I'm currently working 2 days a week on the game. So basically, I took a little over a month of my time and basically something like 10 work days and dedicated those to making the multicellular. And that is the result that was released today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, as I guess I'm contractually obliged to say now, you can support Thrive on Patreon in order to help Hirolainen with this effort. Also, buying the Steam version does the same thing. Or, as always, you can join the team. Programmers will help that. And it wasn't only Hirolainen working on this update. There were lots of other programmers, most of them here, who helped with that as well. So, thank you very much, everyone.
And some people who work.
Yeah, indeed. Although it is true that HH brought like a huge amount of work in this, and it is to a great extent due to him. I think that there were also a lot of other programmers, among whom I'm unfortunately not, because I wasn't very available for coding this month. But there were other programmers who also dedicated time to this. So I'd like to thank them and thank also the newcomers who've been very engaged in the game. And so yeah, please feel free to join us and help us build this great game.
Right. Next question is: can you, in the aware stage, be nomadic or creatures with permanent homes? I'm going to say that's too far in the future for us to say one way or the other.
Well, I mean, this is one of those things that it happened on Earth, so I guess we'll automatically consider it possible in the game, but it's not a high priority. I think we should have some kind of like bot or automatic like voice line that just reads that out so we can use it all the time.
Would be helpful. Will metaballs be in the update after this current one?
Oh goodness, okay.
There is actually actually if we do 0.5.8.1 patch, then no, but 0.5.9.0, like that would. No, wait.
I will say.
Yeah. Sorry, I got confused with the numbers of it, but anyway, if there's small patch, then no, but bigger next release probably.
Yeah, there's been big talk about like metaballs versus there was something else. What was it called? It was something S. It was like CS something. I can't remember because I always abbreviated it. I think
convolution surfaces. That's like the huge thing that Nuns is kind of working on.
Yeah, it's like because Nuns doesn't really want to use metaballs because they don't have as much control as screen.
I mean, we came to the conclusion that the convolution surfaces work if you have like a directed graph. So as long as we have metaballs, but we define the links between them, the next nearby metaballs, then we can actually use convolution surfaces very easily. So that's why my plan for the initial 3D editor is to go with metaballs, and convolution surfaces can be added later without having to rework the base system.
Yeah, that's a good plan. That's a good plan.
So yes, the answer to the question is possibly, but as always, we can make no guarantees. Next question. This at least we can probably answer to some definite extent. Why did we pick C# as the language that Thrive uses?
Well, I guess I'm the one who made the decision. So basically, after years of trying different rendering engines and game engines, I just made the decision that Godot looks like the best open source thing there is. So let's move on to it, because there's nothing better in existence. And then because I think Python syntax is like really terrible. I hate the syntax. then that was very, very simple to decide that no GD script at all. Like no GD script at all in the F code. I won't touch that. And then C# was the time basically the other big choice. Of course now there's the GD native stuff and so basically you can use almost every language with Godot now, but that wasn't as good back when we decided. So technical and preference reasons is why C# was selected, and of course the fact that you don't have to compile it on each platform. So for the longest time I didn't have a Mac, so the Mac releases were only possible because we used C#.
I think that answers that question pretty thoroughly. Next batch of questions. Would insects like flies be part of the aware stage or multicellular? I don't know. Have we even defined what the transition is properly?
Well, I mean, someone said that we could have like a neuron limit or something, so we could actually count how many neurons does it have and does it qualify as aware. Of course, this whole thing is purely like semantics. Doesn't actually matter at all if something is late multicellular or aware, because the state transition will be extremely smooth there. So won't actually affect much of anything.
Yeah, well, overall, there are many possibilities. Like, life is fairly continuous. We try to discretize it. Even scientists do it. But we try to cut it down to several stages, which makes sense, especially in terms of gameplay. But the changes are often minimal because, like, you also have got nervous systems and so on, which will turn into things. You've got neurons, you've got brain organization. There are a lot of factors to be taken into account. So, yeah, where we will draw the line, I believe it is a bit early to say with a huge precision. But definitely it might be along HH's line. Line HH just said.
Right. Moving on from that, someone's asked, next question, are things like the Fermi paradox going to play a role in the space stage? Well, I mean, considering it's quite a well-known aspect of the scientific understanding of extraterrestrial life, I would expect so, but this is extremely far in the future, so as always, we cannot say for certain.
Explain what that paradox is, because it sounds familiar, but is it the one where
yeah,
there's
so
probably...
For those who don't know, the Fermi paradox is there are billions upon billions of planets out there. Why haven't we seen any life from them? Like, there's been billions of chances for there to be life evolving somewhere, and yet there's been none. And various solutions have been proposed to this, some more realistic than others. But at the moment, we cannot decide one way or the other.
I think it would be kind of fun, or I guess more fun, to have planets being more populated by life than in real life. But I don't know. Oh, that was not a rhyme. That was just the same word said. But yeah, I think it would be kind of cool if things were more populated than they normally are. Kind of like in Spore or things like that, because then you have more interaction and more gameplay and more conflict, which is always fun. And more culture to explore. And more people.
And just adjusting the frequency at how many aliens spawn is pretty easy to do with the galaxy generator.
Mm-hmm.
Will be.
I guess.
Will be.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, once we have it.
Once we have it, because it would already be like rolling dice, just changing what dice you give them.
Yeah, I'm also in favor of having bunch of life everywhere in Thrive.
Yeah.
It makes it more interesting, and then we will be able to have much fewer planets, so we won't have like performance issues from having 10,000 planets you need to go through before you find anything.
Yeah, it would be more fun to just... because, again, Thrive is a game, and it's... sometimes we need to make shortcuts on realism to get to the fun. Or, like, kind of shove it away a little bit. But not too much, you know.
Can I...
It's a weird...
Can I answer a question from our podcast channel text that so...
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
VTL made a point that like if we only allow Luca to beat like the first life, then we have the Fermi paradox in the game. But I think my idea has always been that we'll just have pre-populated planets in the space state. So basically, we'll pre-generate them somehow, and then in the game we just load these already made planets that have life on them that we like want. So the rule that only Luca, like the player is the Luca, that only applies to the player's planet. So other planets are free to build whatever they want.
Oh, gotcha.
I've just noticed that we've been going for nearly 2 hours. We usually end around about 2 hours in. So
we have about 4 minutes left.
I mean,
so
we don't
I
need to end on the
there's-
dot, but yes.
I guess there's so many people and a big update, so obviously there's gonna be probably more people than usually.
Yeah, this was a busy stream, and I also forgot to show off any Thrive gameplay at all. So
I mean, there's still time left if you are able to set it up. Just leave it as a treat for the very end. Next question we had, I heard about descending. Will that be explored more in future? I don't know what that is.
I made a thread on the dev forums about a descending feature. Basically, once you have had enough fun in the ascension stage, then you could click a button to go back to the microbe stage, but you would get like an extra benefit. So you could stack on these ascension perks and go through the game like 10 times and get some ultimate achievement.
Yeah, I had I had an idea for that. I actually wanted to talk to you guys about it. So I could like wait to talk about it, but it has to do with a lot of different things, and depending on how you play throughout Thrive, I feel like I don't know, I'll talk about it later, but I have a lot of ideas for it that could be exciting or not, I don't know. So yeah, I'll probably
and we will have a lot of time to think about this. Let's
let's
be honest. So it doesn't need to be worked out now. What about mating with other species? No. Well, isn't the definition of the species one you can't mate with?
I mean, the simpler answer is that in the game we'll have species objects, and if your species object is not the same as another species, then you cannot like mate with them. I mean, we talked about this some streams ago that we can do that.
The next question, is the agent system still planned? Yes, some form of it, although it's a bit up in the air currently because there was a quite detailed description of it made many, many years ago that hasn't really come to fruition.
What is this exactly? The agents?
It's the
like
chemicals your cell can produce to do different things like signaling or causing harm to other cells.
Oh, I guess that's kind of already been semi-implemented, kind of, in the signaling agent thing. I don't know. Not fully. Okay.
I mean, there was quite a detailed concept created many years ago about synthesizing agents inside the editor and creating them to do more specific things. Although I doubt, given the path that we've gone down since, I doubt that's going to come to be in the game in the end. But I don't know. Does anyone else have opinions on this?
I mean, because since the idea should be like simplicity is a good idea generally, because people get simpler ideas done, and also it makes the player less confused. I feel like the system we've already gone towards with the signaling agent is probably the best place to go. That makes sense?
I was thinking earlier today, like, it would be quite tedious if it worked as it was originally designed, where you had to release the agent into the environment and other cells had to swim over it. Whereas the system we have, while not realistic, is perhaps better from a gameplay perspective, where you just click a button and all the cells come towards you, or they will go away. But there's some design discussions that could be had about that. Next question.
The two aren't in comments. Yeah, I was just saying that you could actually have a bit of the two, because essentially how it works in real life can also be that it something diffuses to all the species. So it's not necessarily one hotspot that you gotta be to in order to go to this. And so overall, we can't find like simple models that kind of accept what we're doing right now.
Having a party of.
Yeah, I've just noticed Hirolainen is playing the game.
Yeah, I just have 5 minutes, so I turned on all of the cheats to show off some stuff.
So I guess are we wrapping it up now, or
we'll just go through the questions that we've got left very quickly. That Game Dungeon has been posting. Any OST updates? As we mentioned earlier, there will probably be more like multicellular music, courtesy of some of the people that we have here right now. Next question after that: what's the most challenging part of implementing 3D membranes? Was that convolution surfaces, presumably?
Yeah, stuff like that. That's gonna be Nun's job, probably. He probably has an answer. We can get that question. Okay.
The following question was, is Roso the only newcomer in the podcast voice channel? I think there are a couple. Vythriel, for certain, who's a sound person, is also one of them. And there's a few people, I think, who haven't been on the podcasts before, but then I don't know that in detail.
Yeah, I haven't been on a podcast yet.
Hello, fellow new person.
I've been here for a while, but...
I know, a new person in the podcast. Hello, new person, but not really. Yeah.
Very intimidating.
It's spooky.
But yes, we have had a rush of new people joining. Oh yeah, and Game Dungeon. How did I forget Game Dungeon? As a new programmer recently. Yes, we have had a rush of new people joining recently, which is good. Yes, we always welcome more. Where was I? Next question. Plants. I think you've said that plants will not be able to achieve some form of intelligence. Will funguses be able to?
So
that could be interesting.
On this one, the thing is, it's not that we are hateful towards plants. It's just that for a reason, plants are not very much active in terms of intelligence, at least as we understand it in general animals, and so go for fungi. And also, like, who'd want to play a mussel here? Like, honestly, mussels are animals, but that's not really some kind of animals that you want to play, and these are not animals that are able to access things as costly as, like, intelligence. As a reminder, again, like, it's 20% of your total energy as a human. we are a bit of the niche species there, but still. So overall, that's not about like really plants versus non-plants. That's just that a very specific part of animal has evolved for
Yeah.
many reasons, intelligence, and that especially comes with predation and dealing with everything around. Of course, that's a very rough summary of the thing.
If
But
organisms
overall-
that... Sorry, you're finishing up, Max?
No, I was just saying that sessile organisms will most likely not be developing intelligence. Although, I don't know, the O2 Evo will be the one to have the last say in this.
If our Auto Evo is teaching things that can't move how to move, then we did evolution wrong.
I feel like
guess-
also, but I feel like also the difference between plants and animals and stuff like that mostly comes down to structure, but a lot of the cells can differ between both, or same, I guess, would go with fungi. I mean, I would love to have a creature that resembles fungi in some way, or has a lot of traits similar to fungi, or how they function, or things like that. But yeah, I don't really know.
Well,
I
none of
don't
us
know
do
if a lot.
because it's still very far in the future.
Yeah, it's very far away. Yeah, so I guess come back later.
Yes.
But yeah.
Keep watching. Will there be an
Don't stop.
ultimate end goal like Spore? Is the next question. The Ascension stage, is that? I know
Yeah.
Hirolainen has lots of thoughts about that.
Why? There are a lot of thoughts that are. So yeah. So okay. Is it okay if I kind of talk about my ideas for what the Ascension
I
stage
think
could be?
Well,
It would be better to put that in a forum post.
maybe we should,
Okay.
yeah, try to end the stream.
Yeah.
Because we have one question left.
Yeah.
Have we answered the autosave at the last one?
Yeah.
Lots
Yes.
of people have been talking about autosaves. I haven't seen. a
Well,
question
I
about
mean, I want to
autosave.
say that autosave implemented in the game and works, but in the prototype, because as I said earlier, I cut as many corners as I can. Saving is not possible, and basically, until the prototype turns into a proper stage, I won't be adding saving because, like, ensuring that saves are compatible and work across versions, that takes development time, which I think in the prototype stage of the thing is better spent on like improving the prototype. So that's why autosave doesn't happen in the prototype. Just wanted
Okay.
to answer that.
That answers that question. So yeah, the final question we have here in the list that Game Dungeon has compiled. There are going to be prototypes for every stage, right? If so, how many features do you all want to add in the multicellular prototype before moving into the aware prototype? Hey, Relaine, you spoke about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I maybe like the undo system and the right click to modify and move cells and remove them. Maybe that'll at least be something that I'll try to add. But I mean, I want to move on pretty fast to the next prototypes, just so that I can hopefully like get all of the stages in some kind of prototype form this year, or after talking about them from multiple years, it would be nice to finally get them done.
Right, I think that brings us to the end of all the questions that we had before we decided to cut off. We have been going for over 2 hours now, so I think that's about as long as we were planning to go. Does anyone have any final thoughts that they would like to say before they no longer have the chance?
Thank you for letting me come on the stream, and it's been really exciting and fun working with you guys, and you're all really cool, so thank you for bringing me on the team. So that's all I have to say. Really cool.
Thank you for being here, and thank everyone else for being here. Yeah, we've got lots of developers here today, which was quite a good thing. It's quite rare that we're all here together at the same time. Thank everyone else for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. You have learnt some stuff about Thrive in its current state and the future. And yes, just if you haven't already, go and play Thrive in whatever manner suits you best, and experience that sweet, sweet multicellular prototype.
Pay for it 5 times and give it to all your friends. Sorry. Interrupted you.
That is an option. If you if you want to do that, we won't stop you, but it's not necessary. If you want help development, you can join the team. It is open source. You can send an application to help. As always, C# programmers are the highest priority. And yes, spread the word about Thrive. Continue being part of the community. It means a lot to have so many people here.
Yeah, I'd like to amend this a little bit. We're also looking for testers. Honestly, we're lacking them a lot. Like, we felt it recently. So even if you don't have much C# abilities, you can still help us to a large extent by just testing our changes and letting us know how to improve it. So the tester role is also, I believe, a major vacant one.
Yeah, also, graphic designers or graphic artists, I should say. Probably graphic artists with coding experience is a really cool idea and a good one, because I don't have coding experience, but I know Nuns does, and that can help a lot with procedural generation in Godot, and, especially with, the planet editor, I feel like that would be super important to have somebody who has those 2 different skill sets. But yeah.
Graphics programmers is something that we really need for some of those features that has been wanted for years, like bottleneck has been graphics programmers.
Yeah, so I guess I have a lot of learning to do. Yeah.
Right. To stop this dragging out for too long, any more things, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, thank you everyone very much for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Bye, have a good day.
Everyone say bye now.